Today's episode is sponsored by vehiclescore.co.uk, the best site to visit if you want to make a more informed decision when buying a used car.
Hello and welcome to the August episode of Charging Status, the UK and Ireland EV-focused podcast brought to you from The Interface. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Jim Starling. How are you doing, Jim?
I'm living the dream, Alex. How are you?
What kind of dream's that?
I don't think we can talk about it on this podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Christ. I'm doing good. I got back from a vacation or holiday last week. I took a VW camper van to Scotland with my girlfriend. Did about 1,500 miles, which was insane. But I've got to say, the California Ocean, I've only driven one briefly before. It's great. I don't know if you've driven a camper van before. It's just so good.
No, I never have. I'm always sort of fascinated, actually, by what happens if you take a corner at a bit too much speed. Do you have magnets on all the cupboards or something? Or
yeah, so all the cupboards inside are sort of latched. Everything's secured down. The only thing with the problem was like the table. I had to shove a jumper in between it and the seat, otherwise it was rattling. But I'm surprised how well built it was, mate. How well built it was. I mean, I did have to pull over a few times on some of the Lake District roads and stuff just to let people go past, because the fastest I could do was 50 before it felt like I was going to fall out of my chair. But
yeah, did you? Do you hear? See, these are the things people really want to know about. Do you hear like the cutlery and the glassware rattling around in the back or not?
No, I was surprised. It's got a cutlery drawer, so we put our like metal cutlery in there. Didn't take any plastic stuff, and it's like so quiet. We had a few little issues with it. I actually rented it from Volkswagen directly, so VW let you rent cars from their own dealers.
Okay.
It's quite well priced, and it was a brand new vehicle. It was like from March it was made. Quite well priced, as I said.
What is the price? Come on, let's get the details.
It's £744 for the week.
That's really good.
I thought that. It's like £100 a day. Is that roughly? So with bear in mind unlimited mileage, which was I'm very impressed about. And free gas, and they topped out water for us for free as well. So
I've looked at renting one like in Canada and stuff before. Obviously, a huge sort of phallic affair, not a little VW. But the cost of it is insane, and particularly the mileage. They're usually restricted to like 500 miles or 250 miles, and then you have to pay more on top. And it gets very, very expensive very quickly. Yeah. So I think £700 is pretty decent. I mean, it probably cost you £300 to rent a Golf for a week. So
yeah, pretty much. And the modern California is based on the new Transporter, so it's a very nice vehicle. A lot of the upfront tech is based on the new Golf, but what I quite liked was that the infotainment was a little bit older than what we're used to now, as he actually had physical knobs for everything, which was a nice thing to see. But it's so good. I mean, everyone should, if you can afford it, rent a camper van for a week. It's such a nice experience. You get everyone waving at you because the whole VW club. So very good.
Cool. Very nice. Yeah. I'm off on my holes next week, actually.
Oh, where are you going? Spain again, or
we're off to Spain. So I'll probably record a really nasty car review of my hire car while I'm over there, which I did last year. But I literally just take a GoPro and disappear for 15 minutes and put something together. But depends what I get, really. So we'll see. But yeah, looking forward to that.
Hire cars can be a sort of a mixed bag. So I went to Tenerife with work in March, and I hired a Hyundai i10. So the base spec Hyundai i10, it was awful. It was the slowest thing I've ever driven. Just to get from the one airport to meet my boss and stuff. But I'm glad to see the back of that car is awful. So
good. Yeah. I had the years ago. I had my Audi A3 in the body shop, and they gave me a Hyundai Getz, which was sort of the precursor to the i10. But it was the most hateful machine I've ever known. And at the time, I was doing about 500 business miles a week, sometimes 1,000 business miles a week. And I ended up with it for about 10 days. And I remember one day I had to drive to Manchester in it. And I mean, this thing, you could literally bend the steering wheel with your hands.
Oh no!
And if you got over about 60 miles an hour, you were shaking like a defecating whippet. And it was really not a pleasant experience. But I think they're a little bit better these days.
Yeah, hope so. So yeah, so I've spoken about what I've been driving. What have you been driving? Anything different recently?
I've had a few cars in for review, but no EVs this month. I have got a couple coming up this month, which we can talk about in the next episode. So I've got I had the Genesis GV60 a little while ago. There's a review of that on my channel.
Nice.
I've got the Sport Plus coming, which is basically the equivalent of the EV6 GT. So it's very fast, and I'm really looking forward to that one. And finally, I've got an MG5 booked in.
Oh, great.
So, yeah, looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, I briefly drove the MG5 at the SMMT day the other month. I was quite impressed with it. So it seems very, very good. So, yeah, I'd be glad to see what you say about it. So,
yeah, looking forward to that. We like estate cars.
Estate cars are great. Big trend to SUVs. It's not the best trend in the world, but estate cars just look cool.
To be fair as well, for most people, an estate car kind of serves the purpose better than an SUV.
Yeah, they just swallow stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And although you haven't got that high riding position, you've got a lower centre of gravity. I always think quite often a smaller estate car will have a much bigger boot than a larger SUV. And once you start putting things like pushchairs into cars, boot size becomes a real big issue. And you can't get enough of it. So, yeah, sad to... I mean, we've had that news this week, haven't we, about Volvo? Yesterday, actually, at the time we were recording this, Volvo just said that they're going to go to SUV only. And I think more brands are starting to make noises like that. But I don't know, I was really looking forward to the first electric Volvo estate because, I don't know, I'm sad or excitable or what, but... My sort of long-lasting memory of my dad, who's no longer with us, is his old 245 estate. That was a 1978 model. He sold it with 320,000 miles on it, and I think 4 years after he sold it, me and my brother saw it drive by. Really fond memories of that. Someone went into the back of him once at 30 miles an hour and completely wrote off their car, which was, I think it was in one of the last Ford Escorts. And basically the bumpers on the Volvo had like a big rubber band around them, like a big rubber cushion. And that had a small tear in it. That was the extent of the damage.
They're built great, aren't they?
Yeah.
The only estate cars we've got electric-wise is that they've got the MG5, obviously, and there's a Neo estate car coming up as well. I can't remember the exact brand that's behind it.
Oh, yeah?
I think Neo 5 or something or other. That's quite cool, but I have to see what comes up with that. But yeah,
there's that Taycan Cross Turismo as well, but we can't really call that an estate, but
no,
still, that's the car I want.
Yeah. You got some news, haven't you? You shared on Twitter or X yesterday. We're going to see your face in the places other than YouTube, aren't we? So,
well, no, still on YouTube, but just not only on my channel. So I'm going to be on the Men and Motors channel, doing car review content for them. Hopefully, some other stuff as well in future. But really, I guess a lot depends on how well the new stuff's received. Obviously, if you're unfamiliar with Men and Motors, it was kind of a rival to Top Gear back in the day, back when Top Gear was actually a car show. And there's an absolute ton of archive footage on the Men and Motors channel. They've got about 175,000 subscribers, something like that.
Yeah.
But the new content hasn't. It's been a little bit of an afterthought. I think there's been some new content, but not regularly. Hasn't had sort of maybe a clear direction, and they're really keen to start doing car reviews again, which is the sort of basis of what it was founded on. Richard Hammond actually is on a lot of that old archive footage, as that was his first sort of TV job.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's quite interesting. I'm stepping into some big shoes, Although they're probably actually, in reality, quite small. He's quite a small man. But yeah, really, really excited about it. So hoping
that's awesome.
everything goes well.
Yeah, if you can say, what's the filming process like? Because obviously, as we know, like the stuff the car reviews I film and then the car reviews you film, they're all like a solo job. Are there any filming crew you just left off to your own devices, or?
No, so I'm basically producer and presenter for this stuff, and I think you watched my video where I went across Europe in the Ioniq 6 with Tom Shorrock. So Tom's joining them as a presenter as well, but we will both be presenter producer. So we're filming everything ourselves still.
Okay.
And we're leaving it to those guys to do the editing and the finishing touches.
Oh, fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And also, we're going to be going to Carfest South later this month. Sort of like a big music festival, essentially, with some extra cars.
Yeah, it's like a car festival, a music festival, and a food festival, and I don't know, a rhythmic gymnastics festival. I don't know. It's lots of festivals all combined into one. Yeah, we're going to be there on Friday. What is it, Alex? The
25th of August. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it starts at midday. I'll probably be there at midday, and I think I've got to disappear about 4:30, 5 o'clock due to family commitments.
Yeah.
But if you're going, folks, and you want to come and say hello, I'm the good-looking fat bloke next to Alex. So do come and say hello. If you follow us on any of the social media platforms, just drop us a direct message and we'll let you know where we are. Men and Motors will be there, actually, so I'll be over there at some point to go and say hello to my new
lovely stuff
comrades. Yeah.
Great. I want to touch on one thing about the California I drove. I'm wondering, so with the California, there's a few bits and pieces that still rely on combustion fuel, I guess. So you can run if you're cold, and it's parked up, you can run the kind of like a diesel compressor, and it will heat the cabin somehow. I'm not entirely sure how it works. And also, you got the gas for the cooking. It made me think as I was driving it, what we're going to do when we've got an EV version, because Volkswagen have said there's going to be an EV version. We're going to have a California based on the multivan, that hybrid van they've got.
Yep.
And also in 2025, there's going to be a California Buzz. I just wonder if they're going to keep gas for the fuel. They're going to let the electrical system take over. It also made me think, like the 3-pin socket in the van, you can only use it when it's hooked up to mains. I just wonder, because most EVs you can, like the Honda E and the MG5, you can use the battery to power up a 3-pin socket. I was wondering what will happen with that. So I don't know what they'll do.
Yeah, so I guess the hob will probably go to induction, so it can use the electricity, but it might be too much of a draw on it. So maybe they'll still have gas for the little hob, but then do they want flames in around a battery cell? I don't know. So we'll have to see what happens on that. But I guess like the heater and stuff, solar seems to make sense just a trickle charge from a solar panel on the roof would be enough to keep a 12-volt battery topped up.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can buy those kits, can't you, to retrofit on, say if you've got a T4 or T5, the old solar panel, and just for that purpose to keep a heater going. So that doesn't seem to be beyond the realms of possibility. I had that Genesis G80 saloon a while ago, and that had a solar panel roof to keep the 12-volt topped up, and so your aircon and things wouldn't draw so much from the main battery. And certainly taking mains power from it, piece of cake. So it could actually simplify things quite a bit, couldn't it?
It could do, because there's a bit of confusion. You have to watch a lot of videos to sort of learn how it all works. It's got an inverter underneath the driver's seat that you can run while the engine's on. You can use USB ports off the leisure battery, and then you can use the 3-pin once you're hooked up to the mains. Yeah. I watched a few videos of people converted. They put a solar panel on the roof, hooked up with a charger and stuff in the cabinets. So it'd be quite interesting. Quite a few changes to the California. So quite cool. Yeah. Right. We've got a few stories. So just to make people aware, we're sort of changing how the show works a little bit. Like with the previous episodes, me and Jim just sort of reel off a list and just like quite quickly get through all their stories. We're going to tone it down a little bit. we'll talk about the more interesting stories, really, and talk about them for a bit longer. So we're going to get started with the Honda E. It's a car that we've both driven at this point. I only had it for a day because it broke, but Honda have actually said that the Honda E isn't going to be replaced, which is a bit daft. Again, it's this move to SUVs again. What do you think about this?
I think it's been a really difficult car for them, and I felt like it was always a proof of concept, and I almost thought it was unlikely to be followed. Certainly in the same guise, because that came out fairly early on, and it was quite a lot of money. Not fantastic battery range in the real world. In fact, pretty awful in the real world. But a great thing, and it showcased some of their new tech for the first time, like the dash, and it was a bold thing, obviously super retro, super cool, and I think it was almost designed to become a cult classic and not a mainstream car. And I think it was it 38 grand when it came out?
I think it was less than that, but it's now 37,000.
Right. Okay.
Honda prices have slowly creeped. So.
Yeah. So I'm not massively surprised, but I'm a bit surprised that Honda haven't announced a smaller EV, perhaps a toned down version or a something else. But lots of the companies now seem to be looking at small cars as almost a bit of a blind alley, because it costs a lot more, as far as I'm aware, to develop and cram everything into on a small platform. Where on a bigger platform they can sell you a bigger car and charge more money for it,
make more profit.
I think, I think it's a case of to squeeze everything in to such a small car. They need to charge probably proportionally more money for it than they would for something like a small SUV.
Yeah.
And it looks like a really, really expensive small car, where if you look at something like, what is it, the HR-V, if they did an EV version of that for similar money, it doesn't look anywhere near as expensive.
No, which they kind of have with their EMY1. It looks like HR-V.
Yeah.
I think that's a similar sort of price, isn't it? So
there's the, what's the other one that's coming out? There's ZR-V?
That's going to be hybrid, I think.
Yeah.
I guess I'd like to look at that one, actually.
Yeah, I guess there'll be an EV version of that at some stage.
I don't know. I know you reviewed the Honda Jazz recently. I don't know what, because the Honda Jazz market is primarily quite narrow, like grannies and stuff.
Quite old.
When the time comes, I just wonder what they're going to like. Not everyone wants to drive an SUV, so I wonder and that market is quite good for them.
It's got to be the Jazz.
Yeah, just an EV Jazz.
Yeah. Because the Jazz is brilliant. I mean, I had the Crossstar one the other week, which I sort of feel is maybe a little bit pointless when you've got the standard Jazz, because the standard Jazz does everything that does just as well or better. It's slightly lower to the ground, but is anyone too bothered? I don't know. But it's a couple of £1,000 cheaper.
Yeah.
To me, the Jazz has been a huge, huge car for Honda, and that's the one they can't live without.
Yeah. I don't know. I think you're right with the Honda E. I think it definitely it came out 3 years ago now. It definitely highlighted what they can do, and if they've put some of that learning into the EMY1, then that's good. But it's just a bit of a shame because it is so cool. They haven't sold many at all. I'd look on the How Many Left website. I think they sold like 2,000.
Yeah,
that's not. They probably lost a lot of money on that development.
I bet in 20 years, if you've got one of those in original shape in 20 years, it's going to be worth an absolute fortune.
Well, I think we discussed last episode, used price is just insane, like 15 grand or 18 grand for a Honda E. Lost so much value.
But I swear that will go up and up and up, because that will be an enthusiast car. It'll be like that cult car. Someone will take one to a car show and everyone crowds around in 20 years' time.
Yeah. Yeah, I drove it back from, so people don't know, with the Honda press cars, you have to go and pick them up. They don't deliver it to your house. So I'm about 100 miles away from their press office. And on the drive home, I was a bit nervous. I think
Did you have to pick up their Civic or?
The Civic got swapped. So for context, I reviewed a Honda Civic a few weeks ago, and then the Honda E broke. Basically, it had a major electrical fault, and Honda was very kind. They swapped it over, and they got a man with a trailer to swap him over.
Yeah. So generally, the only one you have to collect is the Honda E, and it's just because it doesn't have enough range.
Oh, right.
Because they will always try and deliver you a press car with a good amount of charge in it.
Yes.
And that car's realistically about 120.
Yeah.
So they've got to send out a guy to deliver it to you, and then they've got to sit at charger for a period of time before they bring it to you, and it just doesn't make sense. So when I reviewed the Honda, I actually went up there to where is it, Banbury? Or no, not
some
Banbury.
Random place. I got a bit lost, to be honest. I don't know where it is.
I don't know, somewhere I can't remember. It's not too far away from Basingstoke.
Yeah.
Oh God, I can't think of the name. Begins with a B. And I just took it out for the day there. Returned it the same day. I just spent a few hours with it, and then kind of took it back. But normally you'll get them delivered. Yeah,
I got a bit stressed on the way home. I got to not too far away from my house with like 2% charge. I had to stop at a Premier Inn, plug it in, have some lunch, and then didn't charge very quickly. But then I managed to get home. But I don't know. Never really had that problem with a car before, so that bit of stressiness with the vehicle. But
I think that's the other thing. I don't think they can charge too quickly, can they?
No.
So that's another reason why you go and collect them.
Yeah. Yeah, the MG4, surprised how quickly it charged. I plugged into a Tesla charger, and it ramped up right to the limit of what the MG4 can do. I think it's like 120 kilowatts.
Yeah.
And it was, charged very quickly. So.
And it's still no Ioniq 6.
That's insane. I don't understand how quickly that thing charges. It just
they talk about the 800 volt architecture a lot, which I must admit I don't understand things like this. But I think we got it up to about 240 at one stage, which was absolutely nuts. And just the amount of power going through that cable. You grab the cable and it's physically shaking. It's quite impressive.
Yeah. Makes me think, like, I wonder how... that was in Germany, I think. We used the Ionity chargers. Makes me think how long we're going to have to wait until those sort of new chargers come here. I know Tesla got the Gen 4 charger. I think that's the same sort of speed.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that will take to roll out everywhere, but...
I think the Ionities are here that can do... In fact, they are, because I used one at Folkestone, and I think it was equally quick at Folkestone. They're just not very cheap.
Are they not? What's the sort of going rate for the kilowatt?
I think it was about 90p, but
ouch.
Let's let Google tell us. 74p.
That's not right. It's
That's
quite
not terrible.
Not too bad,
yeah. Or if you've got the Ionity Passport, which is a monthly subscription, you get it for 56p.
Yeah, that's similar to what Tesla do. If you haven't got a Tesla, they charge you £10 a month, and you get it a lot cheaper. So pretty good. All right. Next thing we've got is the Cybertruck. I remember when this thing was announced, actually, ages ago, so long ago.
When Elon smashed the window with the baseball bat, telling you about the bulletproof glass. That was brilliant.
I know. Yeah, it's finally gone to production. So for context, it was announced back in 2019. They had a lofty ambition of 2021 to start production. We're now in 2023, and it's finally gone into production. So they're going to make it in Texas, their latest factory. I think the amount of conversation about this vehicle has sort of gone up and down. But I don't know if it's going to come here. I don't think it is, but might do.
No, it seems unlikely, but I'm sure some people will import one. Because, some people are just very much in love, aren't they? So I'm sure it will happen. I'm more interested to see what's going to happen with the Model 3, because I really think that facelift is about to be announced, and probably a price drop. I mean, Tesla are doing interest-free PCP on the Model 3 if you order one, or for deliveries before the end of August at the moment.
Oh, wow. I didn't realise that. That's cool.
And Elon has made no secret of the fact that he's not afraid to drop prices either previously as they did before, but again. And he sort of said, to keep everything ticking, they need plenty of orders at all times to kind of, hit their margin figures and not have resource that's not being used to its full capacity, etc. So I wonder if they're going to do a big price drop and then also announce the new version,
facelift,
whether it's which I guess will have more power. I've seen lots of renderings for tweaks on the current design, like for the headlights and the tail lights, which make it look a bit more modern and not so sort of froggy faced. So that'll be really, really interesting. I could almost see as well where you could buy the new Model 3 possibly for a bit more, and then they discount the existing range.
Apple did that with the iPhones, didn't they?
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I think Tesla have borrowed from Apple on more than one occasion in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't realize they were doing 0% finance. That's pretty good. And I think Elon said that they'd rather take a hit in profits and then sell more because that sort of outweighs itself somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty good. I think the Cybertruck probably won't come here based on what they've done with the Model S and the X. This would probably be less popular than that. I might be proven wrong.
And I mean, the US is a massive pickup market, isn't it? I mean, most red-blooded Americans seem to drive a pickup, where here you drive a pickup if you need one.
Yep, definitely. The Cybertruck, as we mentioned, has got bulletproof glass, and then also the whole body is stainless steel, which is like the DeLorean.
Yeah.
We haven't really seen it since then, so I don't know how that's going to work. It might just get really hot in the summer. Imagine if you touch it, burn your hand. But it might figure a way of getting around that. What I found massively interesting was the Cybertruck's going to have the same plaid motors as the Model S plaid, so you basically going to have a rapid truck. And if you have that, it can apparently tow 6 tons, which is just crazy numbers. So, and 500 miles of range, which is like double what we need, really, but pretty good nonetheless.
With the delays on the Cybertruck as well, it makes me wonder how long this Model 2 or whatever they call it is going to take before it comes to market. Because obviously people have been expecting that announcement for quite a long time. Tesla keeps teasing things, but between that kind of teaser and it actually coming to market could be quite some time, I think.
It's a shame because I'm looking forward to that because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, what car do I get next? I want it to be an EV, and then there isn't in my opinion, there isn't an EV out there that quite ticks all the boxes. So it's either really good and too expensive, or cheap and not great in terms of different things like range or whatever. But the Model 2 might be a good, depending on how much it'll cost, might be just a really, really good option for like tons of people.
Yeah.
Especially when you think cars like the Corsa E, which we'll get onto now, has just gone massively up in price with its facelift. It just makes no sense. Which I don't really get that. Like, so the top spec Corsa E is going to be 38,000.
That's insane.
And I remember I inquired about Corsa E back in 2021, and the top spec one at that point was like 30 grand. I was thinking, God, that's a lot of money. But now it's like
a lot of money for a Corsa. And we've seen the depreciation now, haven't we? I mean, I did a video the other day where I look at buying a new Corsa E with cash on their standard PCP or on a 0% PCP or leasing it.
Yep.
And basically, if you do any of the 3 options, you're going to lose about 24 grand, I think it was 24 grand.
I found that video very interesting, actually. Yeah.
And if you leased it, you lost 12 grand. Lots of people in the comments. Someone actually accused me of being corrupt yesterday in that video and said I should be locked up because I'm peddling a load of nonsense. And a lot of people have still come back and said, oh, it's insane to pay for finance on something when you've got the cash. And I'm like, but another one is, but at the end of 3 years, you've got nothing on your drive. And I sort of said, well, you've got a bag of cash with £10,000 in it. versus having a car on your drive that's worth 10,000 less. Yeah, you could have a car that's cost you 24,000 that's now worth 12 or 14 or whatever it was sitting on your drive, or you could have nothing on your drive and 10 grand. So you only need to put 4 towards it to buy that car that's cost you 24.
Yeah.
But yeah, some really odd comments on it. I knew it was going to be controversial, which is why I made it. But yeah.
No, I find it incredibly interesting because I can get why people don't quite understand leasing. I still I can't get my head around it. Like, I understand it, but I can't quite get away from that notion of buying a car. If you know what I mean?
Yeah. The real, whenever I get asked by people and I have to give them a really quick answer, so think about the cost of purchasing a vehicle, whether it's new or used, how long you keep it for, and what you sell it for, and also factor in that you paid road tax. Someone in the comments is bound to say, "Oh, road tax went out in 1930. It's now called vehicle excise duty." So for you, well done, mate. But yeah, so you've had to pay vehicle excise duty on it every year. You've possibly had to MOT it. And possibly, if you've got a used car, it hasn't been under warranty during that period. If you lease one, you've got a new car under warranty. Vehicle excise duty is paid by the leasing company. And just look at how much it would cost you to have that car for 3 years or 4 years, however long it is that you normally keep your car, versus whatever the other thing is that you're considering. And if one number's smaller than the other one, perhaps that's for you. You also have to consider, if you're going to put a lot of cash down on a car, so you're going to go and spend 25 grand cash on a car, consider how much you may have been able to earn from a bond or something. If you put that money into a bond or into some kind of investment, obviously interest rates have gone up and there is value in that now. So it's that opportunity cost as well as everything else.
Yeah, definitely.
But essentially, how much does it cost you to own it for 3 years if you swap your car every 3 years?
Do you find with the videos that you make about EVs that there's just a bit more?
There's just absolute venom in the comments. And unfortunately, there's I don't know if you saw the video that Quentin Wilson did the other week about the PR campaign against EVs.
I was going to mention that just now. Is that with Fully Charged?
Yeah. And how much nonsense there's been about it in the media. Yeah. And, I could probably guess who's funding that. They didn't say OPEC or anything in that in that podcast or that video, but there you go. I've just said it. But I could be wrong, but it feels like it's being funded by people with very deep pockets.
Yeah.
And there is just so much absolute nonsense out there. And of course, you see the results of that in your EV videos. Someone that's been reading the Daily Mail or something, and they think they're going to buy this car. The battery's going to be depleted in 2 weeks. You can't charge it anywhere ever. And it's going to explode. So you get all that kind of stuff, utter nonsense. And then you get people saying like, I wouldn't drive an EV if you gave me it for free. And you think, well, why? Like, why are we so in love with petrol and diesel?
I know.
I mean, to me, it's something that serves a purpose. And yeah, I love a V8 or something like that. But if I've got like a Vauxhall Astra, I honestly couldn't give a toss what kind of fuel I'm putting into it.
Yeah, actually, most cars that aren't performance cars that are manual are just a pain in the arse to drive because they're just because they're very low powered and you can't manage that very well, or it's making a noise or whatever. It's just not very nice to listen to. So makes no sense.
I mean, someone went on a massive rant in one of my videos the other day, and I actually banned him from commenting. And when it came down to it, he drove a 2004 Avensis. I mean, 2004 Avensis is actually a very good car. Lots of them being used as taxis and everything else. But I don't think of that as a petrol head car.
No.
I don't think you're going to have a worse experience driving an Avensis with an electric motor in it. In fact, I think you're going to have a better one.
Yeah. 100%.
Now, if it was a 5-litre Mustang or something, it's a completely different conversation.
Yeah,
but
and also it's important to remember that those enthusiast cars, I rarely see a Mustang on the road, so there's obviously not many of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Around.
Yeah,
and then in the future, if those people that really enjoy the performance cars, which perfectly fine because they're amazing, that's fine. It's not going to cause a problem. Just for some disclaimer, I know you've mentioned it before, but even though this is an electric car podcast, neither of us are we're sort of in the middle between the two. I own a petrol car. I don't own an EV. Same with Jim, but we like electric cars, so we're not biased in any other way. We just make a podcast about electric cars because electric cars are coming and they're interesting. So
yeah. I'm actually thinking about getting one at the moment. I've emailed my accountant the other day because I had a look at my potential corporation tax bill this year, and it looks quite horrible. So I'm going to see basically how it works out. I think I've got a rough idea from reading and things, but I just want some specifics for my case, because if you're self-employed and you've got your own company, if you buy a new EV, you can write off 100% of the cost in year one.
Right.
So, for example, if you bought a car for £30,000 and you're going to pay 19% corporation tax, well, you get 19% discount on that car. Then you take it as a company car yourself.
Yeah.
You have to pay a little bit of company car tax, but obviously then your company insures it, does the maintenance, everything else. If you buy a used one, the tax benefits are nowhere near as good. But I would definitely be in that used category. And I must admit, I'm looking at things like if I did it, maybe an ID3. I don't like ID3s. I don't like I don't think the build quality is amazing. Don't think it's a very interesting car to drive. I don't think it's a very interesting car to look at. But you can get one that costs 36 grand 2-3 years ago for about 20 now.
Exactly.
And I'm looking at my car that went for a service yesterday that cost 350 quid. And, just thinking that would probably help out. So, I'm looking into it.
Fair enough. Are you on a specific tariff for that, like Octopus Energy or something? Or
so I'm on Octopus, but just standard, a standard tariff. Because we don't have an EV, there's no point going on to an EV tariff. And even if we did get one, I might not go onto the EV tariff because we don't use the car regularly enough. It does very, very local miles, so it might be we'd charge it once every 2 weeks or something,
right?
In which case, obviously the EV tariff, you usually pay more during the day. I'm usually at home working, using lots of power during the day, so it might not be worth it, but we'll see.
Fair enough. That'd be quite interesting to see. I obviously expect some videos about that as well.
Yeah, especially when I put the lift kit on it and the
the lift kit.
Yeah, and chop the roof or something. Yeah, I love a lift kit.
Yeah, we touched on it earlier about Volvo getting rid of the estate car essentially. They announced, as we mentioned earlier in the show, that yesterday they announced that the Volvo estate's going away. They're going to do SUVs only. So for you people on, I was going to say Twitter, but X, I still can't get my head around that. A few people online have said, "Oh, what about Polestar? Does that mean that they're out the question?" So I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think as a company, Geely, especially with Lotus as well, they're very much focused on SUVs.
Yeah,
got that new Lotus SUV. So I think this is just a sign of the times and a sign of people's buying habits more than anything else, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just really, really sad. But why should they make cars that not enough people are going to buy?
Yep.
I just don't know why everyone's so obsessed with SUVs.
No. If I had people to carry around like kids or whatever, I would just get a van.
I'll tell you what, the best thing when you've got kids is a people carrier. But of course, no one makes them anymore.
No. So I would get a VW multivan if I was in that situation.
The problem you've got with that is that they're so expensive.
I know,
and your kids are probably going to destroy it. But yeah, I mean, if you want to buy yourself a proper people carrier, I mean, you can get 7-seat SUVs and stuff, but they just don't work really. They're not really very good at it. I mean, we had a Touran while our kids were both young, and that was great. But stuff like the Galaxy and the Touran, the S-Max, those kind of cars work really, really well when you've got kids. And the other thing that happens is you often end up with someone else's kids as well. So kids having play dates, you take them out of the house because they've already destroyed your TV and your carpet and everything else. So you take them down to the park or something. They work really well. And obviously when there are only 4 or 5 of you in the car, you just pop the back seats down and you've got a huge boot to get the pushchairs in and all the other bunkum that you have to take out.
Yeah, makes sense. So I guess I see tons. I rarely see any Volvo saloons or estates. So I guess that's probably what's happening. So, oh well. One more thing we're going to get to is get back to the crap about the EV stuff. Like, Prime Minister has announced that the 2030 ban is not going anywhere. This is after all the sort of hoo-ha about it might do, it might not. So that's quite a good thing for the industry, but also it ties into the ULEZ that's been approved for London as well. So again, I've only driven to London once or twice so far, and it didn't really affect me. But I guess I do understand it's going to affect a lot of people. But I just want to know what you think as well.
I think the ULEZ thing's an absolute disgrace, and I think it's actually a bigger part of it is to get cameras up everywhere so they can start charging us per mile for our vehicle excise duty. Because obviously when all these EVs come in, they've got to fill a £35 billion gap in the exchequer from lost tax money. And we're bound to then switch to a pence per mile. And obviously all the infrastructure will already be in place. So it serves 2 purposes. One, they force everyone into an EV. Secondly, all the cameras are there once everyone's in an EV, so they can start taxing the hell out of us because that's how it works. What is it? The only 2 certain things in life are death and taxes. And that's all very true. The thing for me is we're supposed to be moving to EV because it's better for the environment. Yet we're going to scrap loads of perfectly good serviceable vehicles early and then have to replace them with new ones, which is the least environmentally friendly thing you can do.
Most of the buses in London are electric, I noticed, and a lot of delivery vans are electric, probably because of the ULEZ stuff. So, yeah, I have seen a lot of, as what you mentioned about the paper mile stuff, I don't think anything's concrete yet. I think it's more of an idea, but I can definitely see it happening. And I don't know.
They could at least do it where if your car fails its MOT on emissions or something, then that's it. You've got to scrap it. You've got so many days to get rid of it. But there'll be loads of people right now that have a car that they bought years ago that they used to get to work every day that can no longer get to work every day. I've read loads of stories where people are on the poverty line but work full time and they can no longer afford to go to work. So we just end up paying for more benefits and things, and I don't know. It's never like the transition's never going to be easy, is it? But I just don't think the way that it's currently being done is the most sympathetic way possible.
No.
Carrot works better than stick, I think.
I've never heard that before, but yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, as I mentioned, that's about the Euro stuff. Then the Prime Minister's announced that the 2030 ban for the 2030 ICE new car ban, should make that clear, is not going to go anywhere. That's after he was spotted talking to Aston Martin, or I think some other Land Rover, sorry. And I was thinking, oh no, they're going to sort of, because Land Rover haven't done anything apart from the I-Pace for the EVs, they're going to convince him otherwise and say, oh, look, we haven't done, this is so hard to do, can you just push it back?
Tata are going to open that new battery plant, aren't they?
I know. Yeah, they
UK,
are. Yeah.
Which is obviously Jag Land Rover.
Yeah.
So you'd think they're quite happy about it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then we've also got apparently the Sunderland factory for Nissan is going to become a gigafactory.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that was not doing anything other than that. Maybe it is, not sure. But yeah, it's moving apart from the US stuff, it's moving in roughly the right direction.
Yeah, which is brilliant because obviously we need to keep manufacturing jobs in this country, and this country has always been so important for the car industry, and it looked like it was about to make itself very, very redundant. So hopefully we'll get more of these good news stories coming.
Well, we get back to what Quentin Wilson were talking about with Fully Charged. He was saying if we're not careful, the UK just become irrelevant. Companies won't want to do anything here. They won't want to launch cars here. And specifically, if we sort of back out of the things that we've told people we're doing, things are just going to go downhill. We're just going to get isolated. So, and they also mentioned there was something. Yeah, the BBC coverage of the Dagenham factory was very misty-eyed and rose-tinted.
Yeah.
Whereas they weren't mentioning what jobs were going anywhere else. So, yeah. Cool. Well, that's it for the sort of the longer form news. We've got a few things to mention in what we're going to call the lightning round, sort of EV, sort of little nod to an EV with lightning round. So the BYD Seal U is coming to the UK. It's an electric SUV based on the BYD Seal. It's got some very similar interior details and exterior design. So that's going to be quite a good vehicle when that comes here. So that's going to be BYD's third or fourth vehicle. Second or third vehicle that's going to launch here, which is quite good. I also saw that the Renault Zoe is going to be canned in 2024. Just a brief thing about that. Have you driven a Zoe before? I have not.
No, I never have. I mean, they've been around for years now, haven't they?
They have. Yeah, they're pretty good.
The other day when I was sort of researching my the depreciation on used EVs, I'm saying you can get a Zoe for like $4,000 or $5,000 now.
Yeah, so I follow a guy called Gary, just Gary, I can't remember his last name, Modern Heroes on YouTube. And he's he's basically done a whole YouTube thing about replacing his car with a Renault Zoe. In the amount of crap he's got online about it, so it's not safe, it's not all that. But he managed to pick it up for $13,000, and it was owned by Onto, and it was in such good condition. And they've got about 200 miles of range, so it's, they're such a good used buy, so...
A lot of the safety stuff is nonsense as well, because people always say, well, it's got a 1-star Euro NCAP. Yep. But to get 5-star Euro NCAP, a lot of it is a load of nonsense that most people turn off. Like, it'll get scored down because it hasn't got lane keep assist.
Oh, I always turn that off. It's annoying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And obviously new cars now are going to have a lot of this stuff kind of permanently. So you have to turn it off every time you get in the car, and it has to be, I think, at least 2 button presses. So they're making it more difficult to turn off. But I could see a point when people actually actively buy cars with a lower Euro NCAP. Everyone thinks Euro NCAP is about the crash test. That's one small part of the Euro NCAP scoring. And a lot of it is, has it got this piece of nonsense that you don't want?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
God, I'm so old.
I know. I've told you this before.
Yeah. Good job. Good looking and charismatic. Otherwise,
again, I have mentioned that before as well. So
yeah, obviously. Yeah. I think your mum/girlfriend have as well. So
really,
yeah.
That's good of them. Yeah. Fuck's sake. The one last thing is the Volkswagen Golf. Again, not an EV. It might be an EV one day with the ID Golf Volkswagen have mentioned, but it's going to go automatic only by 2024. Well, it could go automatic only based on something to do with like fleet emissions. For what I understand, So manual cars have a bit more pollutant than the CO2 per kilometer. It's basically 2 grams per kilometer of CO2 is produced. That's not much, but when multiplied over multiple vehicles and all the manual vehicles they produce, it could add up. And what that means is, quite sadly, is that the Golf GTI, after 40 years or something of being manual with a manual option, is going to go automatic only if this thing goes through. So
it's a weird one for me. I don't know why you wouldn't just keep it as an even previously you would pay, like if you ordered a BMW 15 years ago or something, say you wanted a 3 Series, it would be say 30 grand for the manual. Or in the options box would be the automatic gearbox, and it would be 1,500 quid more. I could almost see that happening the other way round. So as standard now, the car's auto, but just on those cars that attract people that consider themselves to be peddlers, I think the term is, why not offer the manual as a cost option?
So currently the manual Golf is 1,500 quid cheaper than the automatic. As you said, you could, that price difference is already there, so you could just reverse it and make
turn it on its head.
Yeah, less likely to buy it. And some speculation is that when the Golf is refreshed, it could just push the Golf GTI above 40 grand, because obviously cars get more expensive when they get refreshed for whatever reason. But it's based on a to be finished Euro 7 regulations, so there's no confirmation if this is going to happen. But currently in 2023, the Up, Polo, T-Cross, Taigo, T-Roc and Arteon all have manual options. So
yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel to me like we're too long away from manual gearboxes becoming almost a thing of the past on new cars anyway.
Yep.
But yeah, for those enthusiast cars, I think there's a place for them, definitely.
Yeah, it's fun.
I was thinking the other day, like if my daughter did her driving lessons now, what would I kind of get? Would we just go for automatic lessons because she's going to learn a lot more quickly, and chances are the car she's going to buy is going to be an automatic, or would I suggest that she does a manual so she's got her wings, so to speak?
Yeah. I do see on Twitter sometimes there are a few driving schools which do EVs. They have MG4s and that sort of thing. Just make things a bit easier, because some people just get a bit stressed about hill starts and things. So
there's a driving instructor up the road from me, and he's always been manual only, and he's now just switched to automatic only, because he said like one in every 4 calls would be someone who wanted to actually learn in a manual. Everyone else just wanted to learn in automatics.
Right. Interesting.
And he's been doing it for years, and he's just switched to automatic only, and I think it's gone through the roof,
Yeah, it's obviously changed since I did. Well, it's not long ago since I did mine, but it's changed a little bit since then. So, oh well. Cool. I think that's everything we've got for news this month. It's been a good episode. Have you got anything you want to plug that you've done recently? So, any videos or things? So, I know we mentioned Men and Motors, but got any videos that you've done recently about EVs?
Yeah, so that one I mentioned earlier would certainly be worth a look if you haven't already seen it. It's called Don't Buy a New EV. This is amazing. So go and check that one out. And it is a cash versus car finance comparison. I often talk about why you're better off leasing an EV and not buying one. Certainly a new one, not talking about a used one, but a new one. And I mean, it's one case, one sort of scenario, but see what you think and leave a comment. Say you heard it here. And what else have I got going on? I've actually added a new service on my website. My website's notaguru.co.uk, because I get so many emails from people that want to ask me sometimes about transitioning over to EV, but more often than not, they want to talk about buying a car, selling a car, or leasing a car. So I've now got a new service where you can go on there and book a call with me. It does cost because I am entirely self-employed, and basically 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, I need to be doing something to earn money. And I've been spending far too long responding to emails. for nothing essentially. And much as it's nice to be able to do that, it's getting to the stage where it's restricting my ability to do anything else. So, and time is becoming more and more precious for me. So yeah, if you want to go on and book a call, you can. It's notaguru.co.uk, and there's a button on there that says chat to Jim, I think.
Yeah, if you want to ask Jim what his favourite shampoo is or his favourite crisps are, it's more than welcome to ask him. So,
right. I'm not even going to honour that with a response.
Great.
I've got a disability.
That's what it is.
Right, Alex is having a go about my hair, right? And I've got alopecia, and lots of people in the UK struggle with alopecia, and I think everyone with alopecia should now perhaps go into their local park, find a dog poo bin, find something there, possibly in a small bag, and post it through Alex's door. Either that, or they could rub it on my scalp, and we'll see if it helps the ball patches fill in.
It might do. You can test that out.
So if you do come to Carfest, bring a hot dog turd to give to Alex.
On that note, I think we'll end. So, as always, you can find this podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, more. For a full description of this show, visit the episode link in the show notes. And of course, check out the chapters, complete with images to make your listening experience much more enjoyable. Thanks again to Vehicle Score for sponsoring this episode. Vehicle Score helps reduce the guesswork when buying a used car. Remember to use code INTERFACE10, that's INTERFACE10, to get 10% off the cost of a vehicle history search. We also have an ad-free premium version of this show available on Apple Podcasts for 99p a month. That will help support this episode and future episodes we produce. One last thing, Jim also has a book out all about used cars. Be sure to check that out. It's a great read. Link is in the show notes. Awesome. That's been a look at the car news, or the EV news, and obviously a lot of discussion about EVs from last month. People can find you on notaguru.co.uk, and where else can they find you on the internet?
So my link tree, I think, is in the show notes. So go and click on that, and that will take you to all of my links everywhere, including that new Threads thing, which is like, I don't know, Poundland Twitter. I've got about 12 followers on there, I think. So go and be number 13.
You can find the interface at theinterface.uk. There's car news, car reviews, tech news, whatever you're into. There should be something on there for you. Without further ado, thanks for listening to this episode, and we'll see you again next time.
Bye-bye. Today's episode is sponsored by vehiclescore.co.uk, the best site to visit if you want to make a more informed decision when buying a used car.